Chichiri Reformatory School started in the year 2001. The school has both primary and secondary school. The school has 11 uniformed qualified teachers and 20 auxiliary teachers who are inmates. The school has 198 primary school learners and 58 secondary school learners, giving us a total of 256 learners. Over the years, the school performance has been so wonderful. In the just released exams, the pass rate was 98%. Chichiri Reformatory School has also managed to send students to universities. For example, the school sent 2 learners to Domasi College of Education and 2 learners to Malawi University of Science and Technology, MUST. The results for primary school and junior certificate examination was also very wonderful. Olive Banda is one of the teachers at Chichiri Reformatory School. She explains the academic standards the school is following, the performance at the school. She is also explaining what the school is doing to implement the discipline at the school. Madam Olive Banda is also explaining on the initiatives that are put in place that the students have their well-being and mental health. She is also explaining the availability of the resources and unavailability of the resources at the school. Olive Banda is also explaining about the technology that is integrated into learning process at the school.
I am God Tracy Olive Joseph Banda from Chichiri Prison, operating from education section as a professional teacher. Alright, so as a school, we have some rules, and as a class, we also have some rules. So as a classroom, we require students to be well disciplined, and also, for example, we tell them to be on time for classes, and also there are also some things that we do for them to be well disciplined and attend classes every day. We are very proud that this year we have done extremely well, that we have managed to produce a 16-point student, and we are on a national level. We have managed to be on the 2nd position for Blantyre Rural Community Secondary Schools. So on that we are very proud. Compared to some other schools, we can see that we have performed extremely well. For students who are struggling academically, as a professional teacher, we are supposed to help them. So for example, we call them one by one to ask them what problems they are having or what problems they are experiencing in a classroom session, just because in a whole classroom we have students who are fast learners and we have some who are slow learners. So by giving them assessments, we know that this student is performing very well and this one is having difficulties. So for those who are having difficulties, we call them one by one to ask them their problems. When they are open to us, we ask them we as a school, we have some programs that help them to achieve as equally as other students are performing. As a school, we have so many ways. For example, we have some clubs that will help them mentally. For example, we have some groups for guidance and counseling, which helps them to be thinking properly. You can see this environment may affect a lot of people, so we hope them that, we encourage them that being here is not the end of their lives. So we provide them with some subjects, for example life skills, which helps them with some skills so that when they go back there to the community, they should be able to start afresh on their own. On the teaching methods, we have some challenges, but as a professional teacher, we are supposed to be resourceful. So we mobilize some information from the internet, and we ask our friends out there who are also teachers to help us with some information that helps us to help with these students. Alright, so we are lucky that we are involved in a BEFIT program. So BEFIT is an abbreviation which is Building Education Foundation through Innovation and Technology. So we are provided with some tablets which also help students So these tablets, they provide visual expressions, which also helps to attract learners' attention just because of those visuals. So by attracting the learners' attention, it helps them to learn more, to know more about that. And also we also have some radios, which there is a Chichiri program. So that program also helps more students to be eager to learn about all this. So we are urging the government and also the public to help us with some materials, teaching and learning materials, so that it should be teaching and learning materials, just because this school is one way of rehabilitating and reformatting these people. I'm Olive Joseph Banda, auditress from Chichiri Prison, operating from Chichiri Reformatory Secondary School.
Austin Chisuse, a student at Chichiri Reformatory School, explains the quality of teaching and learning at the school. Austin explains the challenges that the school is also facing. Austin is appealing to the public and the general faith groups to help the school through funding and donations.
I am Austin Chisuse, a student at Chichiri Reformatory School. The quality is not up to date, just because of that the school is consisting of some teachers who are non-qualified. We do have sporting activity that is consisting of football club. We have school football club. Not at all. They are not adequate. Sometimes we spend 2 weeks or more in a new term without having learning and teaching materials, because most of the times we depend on the donors to help us. So sometimes there is a donor fatigue, not only during study period but during study time. That is beginning from our classes. When we are in class, our classes are situated in a place where there are more inconveniences, like some inmates who are not learners, they just do pass by, and this inconvenience the classes. And when we go in our cells, some of us learners, we are living in the cells where we are combined with the non-learners, so they make a lot of noise and they don't even respect the studies that we make. It should provide us with qualified teachers. It should also make sure that teaching and learning materials are available all the time, and also they should isolate completely the learners to their own cells, so that they can make them study suitable environment. Well, the relationship is just good, because some of them are our fellow inmates and we do respect them, and some of these teachers are our prison officers and we do respect them well as well, and they also respect us. So there's a cordial relationship between us. Yes, I'll begin with my fellow inmates. I urge them to accept that they are in prison and use every opportunity that they can find in here to rehabilitate them. That is, we have formal education, we have some vocational disciplines like carpentry and tailoring, so that when we go out, we should be responsible citizens. And to the general public, I urge the general public to have mindset change. They should accept us when we reunite them in our respective communities. They should accept that we are changing people, so that they can provide us with a suitable environment that we can live in comfortably. And furthermore, maybe with the government, I may urge the government to first take the prison bill rather, to Parliament, so that it can be passed and then become a law that will see the prisons being congested and some other goodies to prisoners as well as the prison officers. I'm Austin Jesuse, a student at Chichiri Reformatory School.
Matthews Longwe, the education coordinator of Chichiri Reformatory School, explains about the school enrollment, pass rate, and the improved teaching and learning at the school. He also explains the relationship with Blantyre City Council, faith-based organization, Ministry of Education, human rights organizations, and legal institutions like CREA. The coordinator also explains about the public to change the mindset and help the school and the inmates.
I am Matthews Mazunda Longwe, Sergeant. I am the education coordinator at Chichiri Prison, which is also known as Blantyre Prison. The goal of our school is to make sure that education is improving and the quality of education is of high standard. This is in line with the mission statement, because our mission for this school is that we improve self-reliance and we create a free crime society through education. We have improved in so many areas. The first one is on performance. The students have performed very well. For instance, this year we have performed very well. This 2024 MSc exams, for example, we had a good pass rate, for instance 84%, and the Blantyre school has at least managed to be on position 1 compared to other prisons in Malawi. The school has a good relationship with the stakeholders. That is why, in conjunction with the Malawi churches and possibly the Ministry of Education and the other faith-based organizations come and then supervise this school in terms of education and all the activities related to education. Yeah, we would like to lobby for assistance, especially in areas of resources, teaching and learning materials. The school is experiencing challenges in resources, especially the books, in terms of textbooks, the flip charts, writing materials, and others. So if the public can come in and help us, we would be very glad. Some faith-based organizations are doing that. We appreciate. For example, the Roman Catholic, the Living Waters churches, and other churches have helped so much in contributing to availability of resources. The Ministry of Education through the payer is also giving us the textbooks, writing materials, and assisting us emotionally and supporting us in form of exams. So we are lobbying for more, because there are so many things that we are lacking. For example, during exams, we have problems with the printing exams. We don't have the printer, and we don't have the toner, we don't have the photocopier. So if the general public and the other statutory bodies and other well-wishers can come in, we may be very thankful. And we also would like to lobby for the Ministry of Education to be engaging us so that we may not be left outside. Because when we talk of inclusive education, inmates or prisoners are supposed to be enjoying the government programs. We measure success beyond academics in the form of the changed behavior in our inmates. We provide the psychosocial support in form of guidance and counseling. So we counsel our students, we counsel our inmates, and then if we find that if the inmate, after being released from the prison, that inmate is not coming again, we measure that as a success. And at the same time, our inmates being selected to go to pursue their education in different colleges, for example, Domasi, MAST, and the other colleges. So we are measuring that one as a success as well. There is a certain procedure, or we call it a process. When somebody has done well in education, for example, MSc has been selected to go to university, there are proper channels that are followed for that person to be considered to go and pursue that course. So it depends on the arrangement. Sometimes the president can pardon that person, and sometimes that person will wait until his expiration of his sentence. So sometimes as a department, we are also lobbying for that, to say those who have done well in education, they should be considered to go to pursue their studies or to continue their studies. But we are appealing also to those inmates to be working hard, not to be pardoned, but as a way of rehabilitation, because education is another one way in which we are promoting reintegration and then rehabilitation of offenders. Yeah, I would like to see this school out of this prison. This school, you know, is inside the prison. So this one on its own is a challenge. If this school will be out, for example, outside this prison, having a school outside this prison will help a lot of the communities, because the community will also benefit from our school, and then this will also help our prisoners in terms of interaction with the outsiders, because the prisoners will be learning outside this compound, whereby they will be meeting people outside this premise. At the same time, we will have no problems in our staff, because we will have more volunteers coming. This time around, volunteers fail to come and teach because of the rules and regulations at prison. And then you find that one will just come in and teach, but because the prison premise has some rules and regulations, sometimes we deny them entry with their phones, and then they may not be finding that particular thing as a good thing to them. So while outside, so we have that auxiliary teachers coming, volunteers coming, and then the compound around Brantaya prison will also benefit. So that means the school is benefiting prisoners, at the same time benefiting the society as well. Yeah, the station and the department, they provide resources, but you know the demand for resources is very high. The enrollment now has increased. For example, now we have about 214 learners. So the resources are limited. At the same time, you know, there is the hunger crisis in the nation. The department's priority now is on food, to feed the prisoners. So we have this as a challenge. So we are also maybe lobbying for programs like school feeding program. Those who can manage to be providing food. For example, in government primary schools, we see people like meals, they provide food for learners. We would like such programs and initiatives to be introduced to prisons as well, because learners will be performing very well, because studying is a hard task. It needs somebody to be fed. Somebody with an empty stomach cannot perform. So we need such initiatives, and we need sponsors to be at least giving us such resources as well. Thank you very much.
Mr. Owen Levi Mahalawipa, the Deputy Commissioner for Prisons, is the officer in charge for Blantyre Prison. He explains the goal of Chichiri Prison in line with education standards. Mr. Levi Mahalawipa is also explaining about the need for Ministry of Education and the department to support the school economically. He also explains the need to have a vibrant school outside the prison, including a nursery school.
My name is Owen Mahalawipa Levi, Deputy Commissioner of Prisons, who is the officer in charge for this facility, Blantyre Prison. Blantyre Prison operates under the mandate and vision of the Malawi Prisons Service, which mostly provides rehabilitation, reformation of prisoners. And there are a number of activities that the department, including Blantyre Prison, carries out to achieve the overall goal of the Malawi Prisons Service, and that includes education. Now, if you are to ask us as to what we do to promote educational standards, or I would say quality education in Malawi as a whole, as a part of the people that are involved in the provision of education, where in prisons or Blantyre Prison as a part of rehabilitation of inmates, we understand that quality education involves the learning and the teaching and learning of our inmates, which actually involves the provision of quality resources of the inmates to ensure that they really achieve the educational ambitions that they have, with the aim of providing them with the knowledge and the skills that will help them after leaving the prisons. So, indeed, we do that as a department, with the aim of giving them the education that is actually similar to the one being provided in the general community, so that once they get out of prisons, they can use the skills and the knowledge they acquire to get maybe employment, or maybe to further the level of education that they may acquire whilst they are in prison. So we can say that we are helping in promoting education, but as prisons, it's a rehabilitative tool. Maybe we should look at the quality that we are talking about. The quality, educational quality, involves the process of teaching and learning that focuses on providing holistic education for them to succeed in life. Now, when we are talking of this quality education, then it's the kind of education that would actually ensure that there is equality in the provision of education. What we mean there is that if we have inmates, whether they are disabled, they are whites, of different races, gender and the like, they have to be provided with a similar type of education. That will actually address the issue of quality. We can talk of safe learning environment. Prisons we really need to provide a safe learning environment for our learners, who are prisoners in this case. Just the same as the Ministry of Education in the general community does, providing proper classrooms that are well furnished, and they have all the needed resources that they require for them to be able to get the kind of education that we need. Now, if you are looking at if there are upcoming projects that will help us uplift education, then we should be focusing on those issues that define quality education. So we could be talking of safe learning environment. As a station, Malawi Prison, we have had this ambition or the goal of trying to have a safe learning environment for our prisoners. So we were thinking of having maybe classrooms that would provide education outside the learning environment, the prison walls as it is. So that outside there, both the prisoners and the members of the general community could be attending the classes. And this would also address one of our core functions, which is community reintegration of offenders. So when these learners, which are mostly prisoners, are going together in classes, it will ensure that we are like reintegrating them back into the society. So there are such projects that are in the pipeline for us to erect a school outside, within the Malawi prison, but not inside the walls, to ensure that there is this both prisoners and coming together. At the same time, where we have our current, I was talking of inclusive education, which also defines what quality education. If you go into our inside where we have our classes, you will find that the topography of the land or the actual school, for you to be able to access the classes, you have to go through a number of steps going down, which might not be appropriate for someone with a disability to be able to walk and actually attend the classes where we have the classes currently. So our need for us to have a school outside is to ensure that everyone can be able to access those classes. And that would ensure that we have what we call inclusive access to education and learning within the prison department. At the same time, there are a number of issues that we can do, but if you ask me now about what we are doing and how we are intending to have a project in the future to ensure that we uplift the education that we are providing to prisoners, those are some of the things that we are doing. At the same time, there is issue of holistic, education, approach to education. That we could also define quality education. What do we mean by holistic? What it means is that education should go beyond the provision of numeracy and literacy education. So we should be talking about the social, because most of the people that we are having inside the prisons are the people that were deemed as maybe socially deviant in the general public. So our kind of education here in prison should be the one that would give a corrective social deviance, so that they become useful citizens. They should become acceptable citizens of the general public. That's the holistic approach. At the same time, it should address maybe issues of emotional maturity of the people. Most of these went into criminal, or maybe they actually indulged themselves in offenses because maybe of not being able to hold themselves. So we have these learning and approaches that we provide to prisoners through either formal or informal education. We have groups inside that we call peace building groups. They are the form of education that we provide, but may not be regarded as a formal. So it's holistic in nature, to provide them with the skills and the knowledge that will make them be able to survive or maybe live well with others in the society, on top of gaining the skills and the knowledge that would actually give them certification to continue with the formal education, but we provide even other non-formal education in prison. So probably maybe at this point, but after all this, we need to have a safe learning environment, and that requires us to build at least some classes within the prison environment where our learners who are prisoners and even members of the general public could be able to use as a way of community integration on our part, and the community will be gaining by actually being provided with education from our members. We have a very good number of teachers, professionally trained teachers. And for your own information, you should remember that Blantyre Prison was one of the second best community, second best performing community secondary schools in Malawi, not just in the southern region, for the past exams, MSCE exams. So we are doing fine. What we need is maybe the kind of support that would help us achieve our goal of having a proper school within the campus that would even benefit the members of the general community. Thank you.
Blantyre Prison, through Chichiri Reformatory School, encourages public and the stakeholders to take active role in the education of offenders so that we can create reliable and self-reliant individuals. This can create a secure society that can promote sustainable development.